I am no weatherman, but I do know hot temperatures when I feel it. The problem is folks in London are not used to the heat at all. Temperatures on the other side of the pond at the site of Wimbledon are expected to outshine even the Caribbean today and tomorrow. The capital running hotter than Barbados. We've seen it take down the likes of Ons Jabeur, already retiring early from her match. Certainly not ideal tennis conditions and not conditions that we are used to seeing over in London. So the fine folks over at Wimbledon are trying to at least do what they can to make things more palatable for the players. A 10-minute break between the second and third set in the best of 3 matches, or the third and fourth set during best of 5 set matches. Also, one player can request a break during the match. That is Wimbledon 2025 getting underway right now, and the heat making things very spicy out there. We can hopefully cool things down a little bit, bringing in former tennis professional Cici Bellis. And Cici, you're joining us right now. You've played over in Wimbledon. I don't know how hot it was when you were there, but how difficult maybe can it be when you go to a spot where you're not expecting the weather to really come into play too much, but then now it is, like we're seeing here, the first round of Wimbledon?
Yeah, it's definitely different for Wimbledon to have this, high of temperatures. It's the hottest day one on record, and actually tomorrow is supposed to be very hot as well. So at least there won't be any kind of favorable conditions for one first round day or another, but it's tough out there. The grass, I think, is playing a little quicker, balls moving through the air a little bit quicker, but overall I think movement will be easier for players. Sometimes when we get the typical, London rain and foggy and misty days, the grass gets really slick and it gets hard to move. So I would say movement would be an easier thing to manage when it's hotter, but this is definitely favoring big servers and big hitters today, this heat.
Yeah, showing these images of the fans trying to find some way to find some sort of reprieve. Just from the overall feel of Wimbledon and the history and everything, when you're at a tournament like this, what can that added element of the weather maybe do to change just kind of the allure that's already there?
Yeah, I mean, for players, I would say it's just another added, element that they're focusing on. They really want to go out there. This is one of the most prestigious, if not the most prestigious Grand Slam. So, there's another added pressure, something else that they have to think about, something else they have to, prepare for, whether it's through, more electrolytes before or during. It's a lot goes into it, especially when it's this hot. Like you said, Ons Jabeur already retired. We're going to see a lot of kind of heat exhaustion, unfortunately, but at least, players are able to manage it. Wimbledon is actually managing it well with the kind of 10-minute breaks and, different breaks that players can take during the match. So it's all about managing. You're not, just playing the opponent on the other side of the court. A lot of different factors in there. Yeah,
end of the day, though, you still need to find a way to win if you want to advance. And now that we've started, someone like Frances Tiafoe has his first round match under his belt already, winning in straight sets, able to do it with kind of quick work, which I feel like is what you want to do in this type of conditions. What did you think of the way he was able to take down Elmer Mollaire?
Yeah, I thought it was a great first round for him today. Francis, he's been a little bit inconsistent game-wise outside of majors this year, but has certainly played his best tennis in majors, which is really what you want to do. He lost first round in London in a warm-up tournament a couple weeks ago to Dan Evans. So we'll definitely have to work his way into this tournament, kind of build that confidence on the grass, but had a great first round win, wanted to get off the court quickly and did just that. So perfect first start for him.
And then a horrible start for Daniil Medvedev because his run is now over already in the first round. He's struggled as of late is what it really feels like, just unable to piece it together. What is his issues that seem to be plaguing him right now?
Yeah, like you said, he lost first round at the French, now losing Wimbledon first round. Had kind of a bad attitude today, to be honest. Didn't look like he was really enjoying it out there. His opponent, Bonzai, did play well, and he made some funny comments about that, but it's just really not finding his form. But, his best swing is really the U.S. hard court swing, so he'll need to step that up to stay in the rankings. He's still top 10, but after this, he's going to drop a little bit. So, he'll have some defending to do for the U.S. hard court swing and then the U.S. Open. But, yeah, it's just really about finding form. He hasn't been able to put a few matches together in a long time, so we'll see if he's able to kind of turn it around the rest of the summer.
Carlos Alcaraz still in action right now, so we won't really delve into him too much. He's still really dealing with a situation that might become a little bit dicey for him as he's still playing right now against Fabio Fognini. Dropped the first set, did Alcaraz, came back, won the first set, dropped the second, and now in a tight one here in the third. Is this a shocker to you? Is it weather? Like, how How do you, what do you look at, especially for a first-round match?
Yeah, honestly, Fognini is never a name you want to see as a first-round opponent. He's such a streaky player. I think especially even now, Fognini's been on a 5-match losing streak, so he really has nothing to lose. He's going to go out there, play freely. He's a very dangerous player in that predicament. We've seen him take out number ones in the world many times and quickly when he's on, and the conditions are certainly helping him today with the heat and kind of the quickness of play. But, Alcaraz, he's playing his best tennis. He's on an 18-match win streak. He won Rome, the French Open, and then London, actually a warm-up tournament before Wimbledon here. So he's, playing really confident tennis. I see him getting through this, but, definitely a tough first round in Fognini.
Yeah, tied 3-3 in that third set right now. Of course, one of the favorites out there to win it all, especially after the thrilling finish that we saw in the last major out there for the French Open. Also on the men's side, when you look at Jannik Sinner, are you seeing another 1-2 finish as we get towards the final, or who do you like to come out all the way at this bracket when it's all said and done?
Yeah, Alcaraz is definitely a favorite. It's kind of unusual, I would say, for a player to have their game transfer so well from the red clay to grass, especially Spaniards who are known for, kind of that, gritty red court and red clay tennis. But, Sinner's game, I would say, traditionally matches up really well to the grass. So I would favor him a little bit, even though Alcaraz has won Wimbledon twice. So I would say if we do get a 1-2 finish, which I'm hoping for, and I think is a, decent chance we're going to get that again, I would favor Sinner on the grass just because he's able to kind of hit through the court and he's more comfortable taking balls early, I would say, than Alcaraz.
Where does Novak Djokovic factor into all of this for you when we think of things? If you're a fan of, I'll call him the old guard for lack of a better term, but how does he get into this conversation and push deep into the tournament?
Yeah, it's a tough one. He lost to Sinner, in the semis at the French, and he didn't play any grass court warm-up. So, he'll really need to kind of dig his heels in here and work his way into the tournament. But, that being said, grass is I would say, potentially his best surface aside from hard. He's won Wimbledon 7 times. He's very comfortable here. Never someone you can count out. But, we'll see if he's able to kind of match up game style-wise against the kind of younger guys, the Sinners, the Alcarazes of the world. I think he's losing his fitness just a little bit as he gets older, but you can never count him out. He's such a champion. It'll be interesting to see how he kind of handles Wimbledon this year. Yeah, let's go over to the women's side, talk a little bit about Aryna Sabalenka here, who had her first round match already. She won in straight sets. How did her form look to you? She takes that first one 6-1 and then had to go 7-5 to take down Carson Branstein. How did you feel about her play? Yeah, I thought she played really well. It's interesting, she's never won Wimbledon. She's made the semis here twice, back in 21 and 2023. So, I'd like to see her go far here. I think her game transfers very well, actually, to the grass. A big server, big hitter. It's kind of perfect conditions for her, especially with the heat right now. But, she had a pretty lousy final at the French Open this year against Coco Gauff. Wasn't her best tennis, but she made semis in Berlin last week. So kind of building up that grass court confidence. I see her going really far here. I think her game transfers really well to the grass, so we'll see. But great first start for her.
If she goes really far and Coco Gauff go really far, it'd be a 1-2 finish. That means that they will meet in the final there at Wimbledon. And of course, after all the electricity we saw at the French Open and the way that Aryna had the backhanded compliments and maybe was not super congratulatory to Coco, there was a lot of talk. Maybe that talk has now been squashed because they put out a TikTok. I opened up my TikTok on Friday. The first thing I saw was this video right here of them dancing and having a little fun. They did another thing with a rip of some Kim Kardashian and all of that action. What do you make of this? Is it good for the game that there is no more beef and that they say that they are friends and are good to go and are dancing?
I love it. It was the first thing that I saw when I opened up my phone as well last weekend. I love to see it. I mean, it's so tough. These players, they are friends, and honestly, most of the players on tour are friendly with each other. But at the end of the day, you're competing against your peers here. You're out for yourself at the end of the day. So it's kind of a tough dynamic. And Sabalenka definitely let her emotions get the best of her. After the final at the French, and she had 70+ on forced errors. It was really not her best day, and kind of let her emotions take over in that press conference. So I'm glad she apologized. I'm glad to see that they're friends again. It was fun to see them do the TikToks. But yeah, I think it's good for the sport overall. But definitely players are out there for themselves.
Here we are in the year 2025 talking TikToks and people making video memes to show that this beef is over, and that's the times that we are living in. Cici, Bellis, I know it'll just be the first time of many that we will see you here for Wimbledon. Thank you very much. And of course, looking at the odds to win Wimbledon, the favorites amongst them all is Carlos Alcaraz and not Jannik Sinner. Alcaraz with a plus 130 compared to Sinner at plus 185. That great duel we saw that went 5 sets at the French Open. Over on the women's side, it's Aryna Sabalenka, the decent-sized favorite at plus 230. You'll see Coco coming in at plus 750. Jessica Pegula from the American side still clocking in at 14-1.
Well, let's get to tennis. Someone wrote something funny on X. Quote, Carlos Alcaraz struggling in 5 sets against a retiring 38-year-old on his farewell tour, then going on to win the full tournament would be the most typical thing ever. That's where we found the current king of clay on another of his surfaces that he likes, and 2 majors already on grass. All right. Fabio Fognini is who Alcaraz beat today. We've got Mike McClure joining us here. So, look, sigh of relief there for Carlos Alcaraz. And if you look at the betting markets, M Squared, still the betting favorite, plus 125. Sinner's right behind him. Joker's a little farther behind at 6-1. Is there anything you might see in terms of the quote tweet that I just talked about here in terms of having Alcaraz win the whole thing?
You know, I think that would be right on line, honestly. You look at Carlos Alcaraz, like, you watch him play at some of these tournaments. While it can be frustrating if you're backing him in certain situations, there's always, in my opinion, little doubt that he's going to find a way to get it done. And that was certainly the case in this opening matchup here. I think he should be a favorite. Now, should he be the strong favorite like this, or should he be a co-favorite with Jannik Sinner? That, I think, is the true debate. I think they are definitely head and shoulders above the rest of the field right now, and likely on a collision course for a rematch of what we just witnessed. I would make them a little closer, though, here. I would make Alcaraz and Sinner co-favorites, but I do expect Carlos Alcaraz to sort of cruise at least to that quarterfinal.
Okay, interesting analysis in terms of the market from our guy Mike McClure. Again, now taking a look at Tuesday's notable men's matches. We do have Ben Shelton there at the bottom there. How do you want to attack the American in this match?
I am very optimistic on Ben Shelton here, Tommy. And look, the current form, you can question it. He has reached the top 10 for the first time here, and since doing that, has not won a match. However, if I look at Ben Shelton at this point, I think he really only cares about these Grand Slam tournaments. When you look at his results so far this season, career best in the Grand Slams, had some good results as well right after when he played Zverev. I think that he's going to elevate again. I'm backing him in straight sets, plus 180. That implies 35%. I have it at 45%, a massive edge. Should be plus 120. Give me Shelton here to cruise in straight sets.
All right, what about an even money play that you have for us?
Christopher Eubanks, someone not coming in excellent form, kind of like Shelton, but really plays well on grass. The grass court and the speed really suits his game. His opponent, a clay court specialist. When I look at Eubanks, I'm willing to forgive some of the recent form because he's returning to a familiar place. When you talk about Wimbledon here, made that deep quarterfinal run in 2023. I think he refines that form here on a surface that fits his playing style extremely well. I made him a minus 130 favorite here in this matchup. Give me Eubanks at even money.
So you're giving us even money, some plus money. What about this next play, a little more spread variety that you have a little bit of juice, M squared, but you feel confident about?
Yeah, I feel confident laying the juice here with Lorenzo Musetti. I'm going to lay the game spread, minus 4.5 at minus 132. This 4.5 number is more indicative of a best of 3 match, not a championship set here, best of 5. I think that when you talk about this matchup here, you have to be concerned with his opponent's power. He certainly has the power to push Musetti into some of those longer rallies. He simply lacks the consistency, though. I think Musetti has at least one set where we see that double break, wins that one 6-2, which ultimately carries him to covering the spread. I would have made it 5.5 at this price, or 6.5 at around plus 110, but at 4.5 here, it's an auto play.
All right, we'll lay the $1.30, lay it with confidence. Mike McClure joining us on HQ. Best of luck to you and all of our players at the All England Club. First timers, if you use the promo code WINNERS, you get 60% off the annual plan. All you have to do is scan that QR code or head to sportsline.com/join.